Hi, this is Andrew with CODI Manufacturing, and today we're going to talk about ROPP bottle integration on a CODI filling machine. I have a guest with me today. It's Colin Cross from Zalkin.
How you doing? Hi, how are you?
Good. So what we want to talk about today is how we get these style of bottles to work with the CODI filler. What does Zalkin do?
So Zalkin, we manufacture capping equipment for the packaging industry. Started in 1932, and we provide solutions for snap-on, screw-on, or ROPP capping. So we can do from a small single-head lab machine all the way up to a high-speed turret that does about 72,000 bottles an hour.
And where are Zalkin's manufactured?
We manufacture in France, and we have a U.S. headquarters out of Statham, Georgia.
Cool, awesome.
Yep.
And what does ROPP stand for?
ROPP, so it stands for roll-on pilfer proof. And what it is, the process is we take a bottle like this and it has the threads on it. We apply a capsule, an aluminum capsule over the bottle, and then we thread that capsule to the bottle itself. So we roll on the cap onto the bottle, and then the pilfer proof is basically we tuck the cap underneath the edge here and creates a pilfer band. So if somebody comes to a store and they see that it's been broken, they know that it's been, the integration's gone. So that's what ROPP stands for, roll on pilfer proof capping.
Not only does it have the ability to fill all the liquids, but it also has a safety element.
That's correct, yeah.
And what type of beverages work well with ROPP bottles?
Right now, we're seeing a big increase in waters and in wines, but ROPP started, way back in the time doing wine bottles, so doing glass with an aluminum closure. So we're seeing everything from CBDs to waters to energy drinks, ready to drink, anything we're really seeing. Pharmaceuticals can use ROPP, so it's not just limited to a single serve beverage.
It's a pretty good option for a lot of the wineries because it's such lightweight as well. Probably cools really quickly compared to glass. It's less breakable, pretty environmental as far as recyclability. You can travel with it anywhere. We're seeing a lot on store shelves everywhere. As far as our customers' interests are, wine is probably one of the biggest ones. We're seeing CBD and THC beverages. We're seeing beer. We're seeing just straight water going into it. So we haven't really come across too many barriers or products that can't go into this type of product.
Right, and the big take with these bottles right now is the resealability of it. So people can take these into an event and they can open it up, they can drink it, they can put a cap on it, they can hang out for a while, they can open back up and drink it. So that's where the resealability of the cap is really important right now, and that's why you're seeing a lot of uptake in the wine industry right now. Plus, with some of the manufacturers are getting real clever with bottle shapes and designs on them also.
Yeah, really cool opportunities for different shrink sleeve applications, digital print right on there.
Yeah.
I remember when these first hit the major beer markets many years ago and turned into my favorite application to drink on the golf course and other type of boating activities.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you just screw it right back on,
right.
It goes. And I've even refilled these with a lot of water many times because it's a really nice bottle to have afterwards.
Yeah, and it's a single source recyclability too. So the aluminum cap and aluminum bottle for recyclability.
Yeah. As far as a CODI filler is concerned in filling these, there are some adaptations that we have to make. CODI filler is based on a screw drive. Screw drive is dictated by the body diameter. So if you change the body diameter, then you're changing the screw drive. At the fill head, we have a short tube filler, so it's already pre-built for this. Creates a nice seal, so you still get a full counter pressure seal. But our general seamer for a standard beverage can is not going to work for this. So what Zalkin does is it provides a secondary piece that goes right after our machine. We can create a couple different options available with some bypasses, so you can go into the ROPP filler, or you could still run a standard can. Now, if we had an ROPP filler in place, and we wanted to run a standard can a standard can just run through your system?
On different machines, we have a single head and we also do rotary machines. So we can do a bypass through the machine on the rotary. The inline's a little bit more difficult, but with a changeover, you can do it.
Cool. Yep. And who manufactures these bottles?
There's a couple of big manufacturers here in the U.S. There's Ball, obviously, and then there's Trivium. And Trivium is the manufacturer here we see here with all the different bottle shapes and printing available. There's other companies. There's a CCL around, and also there's several people overseas that are doing it.
So, but the Ball Alumitech and the Trivium bottles are probably the most common ones.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And pretty good supply of these bottles right now?
Right now it's very easy to get the bottles.
We're not having any customers have problems sourcing these at this moment. We'll see how that changes in time.
Yep.
One of the things that we talk about a lot with our customers in regards to counterpressure filling is the minimum and maximum CO2 volumes that you can accept in one of these bottles or cans. What do you tell customers as far as min and max CO2 volume?
So we're still kind of figuring this out, and it really comes down to the cap, the closure on the bottle itself. I know Trivium is saying they can get up to about 120 PSI on their bottles. So it's really going to dictate on the cap and the seal you get there. There's a couple of different things we do with the cap. We do a thing, it's called when we reform the cap. So basically, when you put the cap on, when we come down, we actually stretch the cap over the bottle itself, creating a nice seal. And that's really where we get the integrity of the seal, is by doing that. Some caps will actually have a liner that just will actually fit inside the opening. But I would say most of the time we're seeing ROPP where you actually take the cap, it's got a flat liner in it, and then we stretch it, which is called reform. We stretch it over the bottle, and that gives us the seal we need. So we're seeing anywhere, I mean, obviously we do flat water, flat wine, but we're seeing up to 3.5, almost getting up to 4 volume.
Wow, that's really incredible. 110 PSI is extremely high for most beverages that we're going to produce. CODI canning machines, most counter pressure. A standard can and lid generally has a maximum internal pressure of 60 PSI, which loosely translates to 4 CO2 volumes. Can buy special cans and lids that go up to 90. But 110 really opens up the opportunity for champagnes and extremely high carbonated waters, and pretty much the full range of products that we see on the store shelves right now.
Yeah.
And when it's a lower amount of CO2, I would imagine we're integrating nitro dosing.
We can do that. We do 2 different things with nitrogen. We'll do one thing is as the cap comes off, the cap comes down the chute, we'll actually displace the oxygen in there with nitrogen. It basically flushes it out, because as you know, any kind of oxygen-sensitive beverage, we want to get rid of as much of the oxygen as possible. So what we do is we flush the cap out with CO2 or with nitrogen, and then we'll dose a liquid dose into the bottle itself and remove that headspace. And then we'll cap it.
So I understand some of these applications use a single pass and a double pass.
Yep.
What's the difference of those?
Okay, so single pass is basically started with the glass, right? So in wine bottles, when we originally started, you would basically bring the head down and thread the cap onto the bottle in one pass. With the aluminum bottles, what it's important to do is to take consideration that these openings can disform if you put too much pressure to it, right? Especially as we move forward, they're going to get lighter and lighter in weight. So the opening here, if you put too much pressure on the side of this, it's actually going to deform this opening. If you have an oval shaped opening, it's going to be very hard to open the cap, right? Almost impossible. So what we've decided is we want to do this in 2 applications with less pressure. So what we do is the pressure block comes down, pushes the cap onto the bottle, does that reform we talked about earlier, okay, to get for that seal, and then the wheels will come in and they'll actually thread the cap to the bottle, open up for a second, come up 3 millimeters, and then do that profile again. And why it's important is because, like I said, we're doing it with less pressure, then we don't have to worry about deforming the threads itself. Not all bottles need it. As you see here, with this bottle here, it's got this plastic outsert. The plastic outsert is to make this bottle neck stronger, okay? And so we can do this in a single pass. So it really depends on the application. We like to work with the manufacturers of the bottles and of the caps and discuss what's best for the application. But our machines are capable of doing a single pass and a dual pass.
Okay. So if it has a plastic thread on it, you're going to go with the single pass.
Yeah.
If it has a metal thread on it, it seems like an argument of speed.
Speed and also the integrity of the bottle. Okay. You know, there's some bottles out there we see from overseas that are very stout. We can do that in single pass. But some of the other bottles are getting lighter and lighter. Dual pass is nice to have.
Now, when some of our customers are looking into this for the first time, and the marketing department elects this size bottle and this volume bottle, they just get in touch with you and kind of start talking single pass and double pass?
Yeah.
Is that how it works?
And we've done enough of this where we know what bottles really need a dual pass. Yeah, it's a good conversation to start with.
Right. On a standard CODI filling machine, the distance between the filler and seamer is really vital to ensure that you're getting good foam stability, you're capping on foam, you're putting it directly in there. We can't get the ROPP as close as we have the seamer. We're normally going to elect to have it just afterwards. if you have it afterwards, what are best practices from the distance from the fill location into the capping location?
We would like to be as close as possible. Okay, again, it's about the oxygen, controlling the amount of oxygen that gets into the container itself.
Okay. And what we're worried about is that the headspace, which is what's above the liquid level to the top of the lid, is going to displace the CO2 and oxygen's going to get in there. As we know, oxygen is one of the deteriorating factors for shelf stability. So if we have a longer travel distance, we can elect some really cool features like nitro dosing and hot water foam jetters, things like that to reinvigorate that foam breaking out. One of the things that we've worked on with some projects before is we have the capabilities of running our system with both a ROPP bottle as well as a standard can and lid. The way that we do that is the standard can and lid is going to work just like normal. It's going to bypass through the system. The ROPP, we have a couple different options. We could remove the seamer entirely, or we could create a little bypass loop so just the ROPP bottles will move around. Now, if a standard can goes through one of your cappers, what happens? Can it just bypass, or do we have to go all the way around that machine?
Well, we've done it like the rotary machines, we've done bypass before. On the single head machine, it's a little bit more difficult because of the star wheels in the path of the conveyor, but there is ways of removing that section and putting bypass rails through the machine itself.
Yeah. And what we've talked about before is the star wheel is dictated by the body diameter of the bottle itself. If we keep the star wheel in place, the body diameter of the bottle is most likely different than the body diameter of your can. So then you would need a completely different star wheel.
Yep.
You would have to remove that. You would have to put the new star wheel back. Probably is less time and energy just to remove that star wheel and allow that can to bypass directly.
Absolutely, yep.
All right, cool. Lots of different speed options available for this. Standard CCL-45 canning line is running at 55 cans per minute. Which device does Zalkin sell that you would suggest capping around those speeds?
So our TM-135 is our ROPP capper for this kind of application. It's a single head machine, and it'll get up to the speeds of about 60 bottles a minute, and that is for a glass typically. When you get down to the aluminum bottles on a single pass, you're looking around the 45 to 50 range, and then if we go to a dual pass, we have to derate the speed a little bit, so you're down around 35 or so.
So that's why that discussion about single pass, double pass happens on the upfront. We talked about the pros and cons of what can actually happen, because it's going to dictate the piece of equipment that we elect later down the road. Now, if we decide that we need to run the ROPP at 55 bottles per minute at the true filler speed, I understand you have like a 3-head version or something larger?
Yeah, so what we can do is we can start at a 3-head rotary machine, and that'll start at like on a dual pass about 90 bottles a minute.
If someone purchases a 1-head machine to start, can they upgrade to a 3-head machine later?
Nope, a single head machine is a single head machine. On the rotaries, we can do expandability if we know about it up front. We can sell you a machine that's capable of doing 8 heads, but is only shipped with 4 heads, stuff like that.
Yeah. So if you get a 6-head filler from CODI running at 55 cans per minute. You get a single head TM-135 from Zalkin. You do a double pass. You're not going to see the full potential of the filler. If you do a single pass, you're going to be pretty close to that. If you need to guarantee that you're running at full speed, then we're going to go with the 3-head Zalkin. Obviously, a little bit more price involved in that process as well. What is the lead time for some of this equipment?
Sometimes we have the single heads in stock in Georgia, but the rotaries are pretty much built to order, and we're looking at anywhere from about 14 to 20 weeks. Depends on the order intake at the time.
Okay. And what other things that people need to know when they're looking at all this applications? What kind of questions do you get from your customers?
Yeah, a lot of people will ask me how the process works. So let me explain. So basically, you'll get these caps, and you'll get it in a bulk format, and you'll take the caps and you'll pour them into a hopper. The hopper will then elevate these caps up to a thing called a sorter. So a sorter is a centrifugal thing that's spinning around the caps. It'll take these caps, and it'll get these caps oriented either up or down, depending on the application. These caps will then come down a chute and be presented to the bottle. So the bottle comes, we'll pick the cap, it'll tap the cap on, and then the sealing head will come down and thread the cap to the bottle. That's kind of the way the process works. And some people don't understand. It's like, hey, how do I get all these caps from the bulk to the bottles? And that's really the way it comes down to. Our machines can run any variety of bottle sizes, cap sizes, as we spoke about. You have 28s and 38s. It's a quick change on the head. Bottle diameters, you have to do any kind of changes on bottle handling parts. It's a quick change. One nut pulls off the star wheel, put a new star wheel on. Pretty simple stuff.
That's awesome. Well, I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Once again, I'm Andrew with CODI Manufacturing. If you have any questions about ROPP integration with CODI's equipment, you can contact sales at sales@CODIMFG.com. Colin, what's a good way for everyone to get a hold of you?
So my emails is the easiest way to get me. It's colin.cross@promockbuilt.com. So it's colin.cross@promockbuilt.com. Sorry.
Thanks for your time, Colin.
Thank you. Take care.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great day.